welcome back to another episode with Izzy. That's me. This is Izzy's World Podcast. I'm super stoked to be here with you today. I want to go over some lessons that I have learned, and these are things that have just kind of helped to mold me as a human. Things that I have experienced in my life that, I really wish someone would have told me, but at the same time, they're kind of just lessons that I had to learn. And so my goal here is to share these lessons with you. And, maybe you can learn from my mistake, or, maybe it's something where you're going to make this mistake, or you have made this mistake, and you're just kind of looking for someone who's gone through it too, and maybe what takeaways that you can actually take away from the situation. And some of these are hard pills to swallow. I will say my first one when we get going here is something that I recently recognized as a large issue in my life. This is something that has impacted me for a very long time, something that was ongoing in my childhood, and something that, I need to make sure to do a really good job of watching for throughout the rest of my life, because it is such a dangerous sort of edge to ride. And I guess jumping in, the lesson that I learned is that your loyalty is not noble. Standing by something just because that's what you think you're supposed to do does not mean that you are doing good. You can stand by something for such a long time, but if it's things that don't genuinely matter to your soul or align with your values, then what are you being loyal to? It's not you at that point. It's not you that you're being loyal to. And so, I will get into, my specific example. But I think one of the reasons why I struggle with that is because, my parents growing up, they were married for a very long time. And they had tried to make it work a million times, just tried, but it just never worked. And they were both really unhappy, but they were loyal in their marriage. And that was something that they, I think, both took a lot of pride in. And they felt very cozy in. And, it wasn't something where they were actually comfortable. It's just when you are so used to something, that is what becomes your norm. That is what becomes your comfort. And so when I started dating this guy back in high school, and I told his parents, oh yeah, my parents have been together for 23 years. They just thought that was the coolest thing ever, the greatest goal. And to me, I thought that that is what a relationship should look like. And I modeled my relationship after that. I was, with someone that did not really make me feel super great about what they were doing. But because I was raised in a household where you just are supposed to stand by that person because you have already devoted X amount of time into that relationship. If it's your partner, then you should agree with everything that they do and defend everything that they do. It's your job to, serve this other person. Fuck no. No. Your loyalty is not noble. And it doesn't matter if it's a situation where you maybe started and it was, something that you wanted to stand by and everything was great. But when it gets to a point where you are recognizing that you're standing by things that go completely against what you stand by, speak up and be loud. I think that is just one really great example, because when I, witnessed my parents get divorced, I got divorced too. This relationship that I had with this guy in high school, moving into the adult world, there were some different, things that had happened that I just thought, okay, like this is the person I've already spent the time with. Like I'm supposed to just give everything to this. And you're not. The only person that you should be giving everything to is yourself. You know, if you are being loyal to not just people, but places or, companies, whatever, that are not, I guess, dishing out what you would personally dish out, then like don't stand by it. you know? I have worked for places where I was far underappreciated, but because I felt such a sense of loyalty, I stayed. Like, I worked at a bar a handful of years ago, I think when I was 18, and they didn't end up paying me. But I kept showing up for work because I was like, I know we're all going through a hard time, but like, it's okay because we're all in it together. And fuck that, first of all. And that wasn't my last job where I felt that way. And, the job that I took when I met my husband, um, I, really quick, distinguishing something. I was married when I was young and divorced him, and that will be always referred to as my ex. I also got remarried, and that is my husband. 1,000 times through and through. Okay. Just to make that distinction really quick. But when I met my husband, I was working at another shitty job. Him and I both were. And that was another place where I felt such a sense of loyalty. But, like, really, that job put me in danger quite often. And there were a lot of policies that I also did not stand behind. And in the company that I work for now, I'm feeling a lot more of the security and loyalty in the people firstness of the environment. But, I'm really recognizing where my loyalties deserve to go, where they should go, and what I want to represent myself with. Because ultimately, the things that you are loyal to are going to be the things that, you or the things that you should be loyal to are the things that you would allow to represent yourself. And if you're looking at certain relationships, certain jobs, certain friendships, certain this, certain that, if those people, places, things, whatever, if those are not things that you would allow to represent you, don't be loyal to it. Like, do not. I recently had an issue with one of my friends that, I've been friends with for a long time, and it really opened my eyes. Like, I had been on the fence quite a bit, about if this person is someone that, I want to allow to represent me. And after some of their recent actions, I have taken quite a bit of a step back. And I feel good about it because, allowing someone to rock my peace, if it costs you your peace, it's too expensive. And so that has been another thing to think about. And the whole reason why my loyalty was even brought up is because, one of me and my best friends were talking about it the other day. And he was like, you are like the most loyal person. You do not like have any fear of commitment, which I think is great. But now knowing that like you can't just commit to whatever allows you to commit to it, like you need to really commit to the things that, matter to you and align with you. That's so, so important. And, I wouldn't maybe suggest taking the same path that I did, but I also stand by every single decision that I have made up until this point. I don't really have regrets other than this tattoo. And that's another thing I was loyal to was, not very, I don't know. It's not that she was a bad tattoo artist, because I actually have like 7 tattoos from that artist, but like, sometimes you have to find someone who's prepared to take on the right task. Like, just because, your buddy's like, oh, like super confident about doing something, well, there's other people with experience that, like, you can go to. You don't have to be loyal to any single thing, okay? Just identify the things that you want to be loyal to, identify the things that you're ready to actually be committed to, and also, like, if you are already committed and already loyal, know that you are allowed to change that. And genuinely, the things that you are loyal to need to be things that, like, you would allow to stand alone and represent you, because behind closed doors, like, you need to be solidified in the way that that interaction is going to sound when you are not present. Kind of on that too is be good to your friends. You are picking the people that you want to surround yourself with. And some people just fall into your lap. And some people are, people that you maybe don't talk to very often, but they mean so much to you. And be good to those people, because, the people that are being good to you, you really should give that back. And sometimes that doesn't quite align. Sometimes I might be too overwhelmed or full to be able to take on, gifting something or spending the quality time, or, having genuine conversations with. Like, sometimes those things don't just happen like on the split of a dime, but like being good to your friends means a lot of different things. Being there for them when they need support, being ready to receive their love. There's a lot of different ways to be good to your friends. And one thing to do is, like, make sure that they feel included. And I have not always been great about that. Like, quite frankly, I have been really shitty about that in the past. Um, there were a lot of times back, like, between the college and high school stage when, like, you're trying to just figure out how to go about things, and, like, I have to just forgive myself on this, but, like, there were times when I was, like, specifically excluding people, and, like, that's not cool. Like, if you're excluding someone because someone else doesn't want them there, then, like, that is that person's problem, not your problem. And that's another, like, kind of takeaway too. Like, just be good to the people in your circle, because, those are the people that you have at the end of the day. And evaluating that circle is really important, going back into the loyalty bit here. If those are people that, like, you would not, want to claim as your people, then don't have them around. Don't invest that in them if they are not people that you want to, you know, represent you. And on that note, too, like, it's totally fine to say that you've outgrown someone, or, know that you've outgrown someone. Maybe at one point in time, your guys' lives meshed in a way that was just absolutely gorgeous, and it made all the sense in the rainbows, but it just doesn't now. And that's okay, because, that happens. That is part of life. That is part of friendships. That is part of relationships. That is just part of the way that it goes sometimes. I fully recognize that, like, people who were some of my best friends, even just a couple years ago, or hell, even just a couple weeks ago, like, sometimes things just fall out of place. And so, regardless of how those things fall out of place, you can only control so much, but being good to them while they were in your life, and being good to the people who continue to be in your life, it's important just to be good to people. And also, like, when you have not been good to people, because we all have those moments, forgive yourself, learn from it, apologize if you, are in the spot where you're able to. If you deliver an apology that is true and genuine, It is up to them at that point if they want to accept it. And it is not your burden to bear anymore. If they decide that they don't want to accept that apology, there's a couple things that might be happening there. First thing that could happen is that they're digging for, even more things from you. Maybe they are digging for further apologies, or maybe they have allowed you to, put yourself in a position where you feel sorry constantly, and that's not okay either. That's one of those types of situations where you need to decide, okay, like, this is hurting both of us. Are we supposed to do this? Are we meant to reconcile? Are we meant to continue to put energy into each other? And, really identify, I guess, what's worth it to you. Because it's hard to identify that sometimes. And sometimes it just comes to you. And it really is up to you to decide, okay, like, are these people that are going to be in my circle? Are these people that are not going to be in my circle? And, it's hard to find out. It's hard to know where to put that effort and whatnot. But at the end of the day, if you're good to everybody, even if you don't know where that effort goes, it's going to be better for you. And like, it is such a small world. Like, it is such a small world. I am impressed constantly by the random people that either pop up in my life again, or people that are like, oh, this person, or you're this person's, friend or whatever. Just be good to people, because you never know, when you're going to see them again, when you're going to have to interact. And honestly, like, I don't know if other people feel this way, but like, if you're shitty to someone and then like you see them again, you get that nasty pit in your feelings. And like, imagine if you just weren't shitty to them. Like, you wouldn't have that pit in your feelings. And so, an example of that, like, I had said something not super awesome, like at a New Year's Eve party one year, and like, I immediately apologized for it. And actually, an apology was asked of me, and like, I did genuinely mean it, because like, I really quickly realized that I fucked up. But the thing is, like, I was still not good in that moment. And the next year, when I saw them again at that party, that New Year's Eve party, like, I felt horrible in my stomach. And when I would see them, because she also worked at the bank that I used to go to, like, I would feel horrible. And so imagine if, like, you were just good to people, you know? Just because someone hasn't put in a whole lot of value with you quite yet doesn't mean that you can't be good to them. Just be nice to people, okay? Be nice to people. So let's see. The next thing that I have learned quite a bit about, jump at any opportunity and just say yes to things, because we all have a finite amount of days in this lifetime. And it's a questionable number, because, you could live to be like 109, or you might get wiped out on, the highway tomorrow. Who fucking knows? But like, jump at the opportunities that are given to you, and jump at the opportunities too that you make for yourself. And so, for example, I had the opportunity to do quite a bit of traveling with my husband when we first got together. And, you know, the opportunity was there to do some travel and then also to do some work. And so it was kind of neat. We basically like hopped all around Oregon for about a month and a half. And it was really cool, because I just had the opportunity to work with a really great wireless brand. And like, that was really cool. That was an experience that a lot of people probably won't get to have. And, there were other times too when there were moments when it was just kind of like, okay, like, this is either yes, and I'm gonna have a great time, or no, and nothing's gonna change. Just start saying yes to more things. Obviously there's times when you're going to have to say no when things just don't seem quite right and you know that that's not an opportunity that fits for you. And that's okay. Say no to things that are not a good fit. But if it's something that's going to bring you new experience, new opportunities, maybe it unlocks part of your life that you did not even know about yet, jump with opportunities. Start saying yes to more things, especially if you are feeling really, really stuck in a rut. Start saying yes to more things, and also feel okay when you do have to say no. Because any time that you say no, it is valid. Just, you've said no for a fucking reason, stand by it. And that actually, kind of getting into that loyalty bit a little bit too, like, just because you have said yes to something a million times over does not mean that you have to say yes again on that millionth and first time. So, again, just food for thought. Oh, okay. So another thing that I've learned is ask for the higher pay. Like, fucking ask for it, because what's the worst thing that they can do? Tell you no, we're gonna just give you this instead. Okay, like if that was an acceptable number in the first place, sure, whatever. Or, if you're able to start at that wage and then go higher. But, for these brand ambassador events that I work and whatnot, they generally list a price that they're willing to pay per hour. And I know that I have done these events since 2017. I have been doing them on and off for a very long time. I have done them full time. I've done alcohol events. I've done wireless carriers. I've done surgery. I've done different platforms. I've done different corporations, so many different things. Just ask for the higher pay. Either they're going to give it to you or they're not. And, I guess that doesn't just have to be pay either. Ask for the higher incentives, because either they're going to say yes or they're going to say no. And, at least you asked. It's kind of one of those things where it's well, since we're here, might as well ask about it. Yeah, do it, because they're going to know what your expectations are for the future. And I think when everybody has a better understanding of expectations, then we are going to be better as a whole. Uncomfortability comes through uncertainty. So allowing everybody to be on a very even, certain, confirmed, consistent ground, I think is a really great place to jump off from. And if you are starting at that very consistent and, understanded place or understood spot, you're going to be able to start chipping away and making a staircase towards, what you actually want. And so I think that's a really great thing to think about too. This is also kind of jumping at the opportunities. Create those opportunities for yourself and make sure that other people understand what you're trying to create for yourself. For me right now at work, I am in a position that doesn't really have a lot of room for growth within that specific department, but within the company as a whole, I see other opportunities that I would be able to fill and just start climbing. And so, yes, I'm just in this minute spot right now, and it's not, but I know that there's more out there. And so letting the other people around me know that, hey, I'm going to ask for this, I'm going to be reaching for these things. They know that and they expect it, and everyone's on the same page about it, which is pretty cool and pretty unique. Okay, so for the next piece of advice that I have on here, or the lessons that I have learned, not everyone is meant to be in your life forever. And, that goes back into that loyalty component a little bit there. But genuinely, people are in your life either for a season or a reason, or a blessing or a lesson. And that's okay. I've learned a lot of things from people who are no longer in my life. I've learned, about those people as people. I've learned about how to interact with people who are like those people. And I've also learned how I navigate those types of situations and things that I do that I'm not proud of. And so, learning those things, it helps you to kind of just address and navigate better in the future. And I feel like that's kind of what everyone should desire to do, is to navigate things better in the future. You know, if you are able to identify certain things, then you're able to use that to flourish and do better. So, like, literally, just soak it all in, learn from all of it, because, you know, certain people really are not meant for forever. And sometimes it really sucks. Sometimes it really, 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 really sucks when someone leaves your life. And sometimes you have control over that. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's a hard choice that you have to make, or sometimes it's a decision that you are not included in at all. Regardless of the circumstances, all you can do is learn from it. You know, I could tell you so many things about my, you know, high school best friend. I could tell you so many things about the woman that, owned the bar that I worked at. I could tell you so many things about this person and this coworker and that friend and this teacher and, all these different people who have impacted my life in such different ways, and they might not be here anymore. You know, as far as I know, pretty much everyone is still alive. That's part of life, is death. But like, also what's part of life is just that, people are going to leave an impact and an impression on you, and like, that's something that is at that point yours to bear or yours to let go. And learn from every single interaction that you have. you know Maybe you're able to identify why that person's not in your life anymore, or why you're not in theirs. Sometimes you're not able to, and sometimes it helps you to just understand that, like, you don't know sometimes, and that's okay. you know it allows you a moment to just really appreciate the time that you did get with that person. And so, for me, I learned from, so many different people how to just give so much love. And I've learned from people, to trust yourself, just to throw yourself out there and see what happens. I've learned to, be passionate. I've learned to be caring. And, just because these certain people are not involved in my life doesn't mean that I carry any negative feelings towards them, because a lot of the times I don't. I genuinely feel like if you are able to learn from a situation, that's the takeaway you should have from it. And really, emotions are something that you create on your own. And so you are also ultimately in control of that. It might take a long time for you to figure out how to control those emotions. And like, no one, I think, has, you know, right in the moment, perfect control over every single thing that they do. But getting closer and closer to that is very important. And, also in that too, when you're wrong, and this is a lesson that I have learned from some people that are not really involved in my life anymore, but like, when you are wrong, it is also an opportunity for you to make it right. And once you lay an apology, it is up to them to decide if they want to accept it or not. And like, I have been both on the, delivering side and receiving side of that. Like, once you have done what is in your power to make it better, if they're asking for more, then that's their problem at that point. You cannot expect someone to live up to every single thing that you want them to, and they can't expect that from you either. As far as people who maybe are in your life for a season, like I said, this could be a boss or a coworker or just a friend or a relationship, literally whatever. any type of relationship, you know, just allow yourself to take something from it, and maybe it is that is not something that you want to be around, or maybe it's something that you recognize where maybe even just like lost it. Maybe you had something great and you lost it, and that'll help to teach you in the future, how not to lose something. There are so many different things that you can learn from a person who is no longer in your life. And I think that the best way to look at that is just what lessons can you take from it and what lessons did they provide. And from there, you kind of get to pick and choose what are the pieces that I want to, use to implement in my life. On that too, I do want to touch on failing is never failing if you learn from it, and no one succeeds their first time. And so this is something that can relate to relationships. And when I do say relationships, please know that I mean very specifically relationships being anyone that you can be connected to. This can be friendship, it can be love, it can be family, it can be the person across from you on the bus, it can be anything. The relationship that two people have is, what I talk about when I say relationship. But failing, also, looking at business models, looking at different streams of income, different, food that you want to try, different things you want to make, different projects that you want to start, maybe you, I don't even know. There are just so many different things that you can fail at, but it's never failing if you learned. Like if you genuinely learned from whatever you just tried to do, then like you are winning because you're able to use that knowledge from that failure to put into something that can be more successful. And so I really have been enjoying Adeline Morin's podcast, Girl Talk. She recently was talking about things that she wished that she learned, like when she started making money and investing tips. And like in one of those episodes, she was talking about how, like, if you look up the Kardashians' failed businesses, like any of them, all of them, you'll see that there are so many failed businesses that, like, no one talks about. And also, like, if you fail at something, no one gives a shit. Like, literally, no one gives a shit if you fail. Because maybe it'll be a buzz for, like, a day or so, but realistically, like, I think everyone's starting to get to the point where it's like we all fail and just grow from it, learn from it, and continue on because, the people who don't recognize that failing actually means success, those are the people who are too scared to even try. And so don't worry about them because they are not worth committing time and energy to. Those are not people who are, value, unfortunately. Like maybe you have people who are commenting on your videos and shit, like saying, oh, that's fucking cringy. They're not trying. They're not the person who's putting themselves out there. They're not the person who is learning from every video that they make or like, every mistake that they ever make. So don't be afraid to fail. For me, I thought last year when I did not renew my business license, I thought I was such a failure because I was a life coach. Like I was, working with some pretty great clients, honestly. I didn't have paying clients though, which was kind of the issue. But I was enjoying that line of work, but it just was not a business that was making any money. And I felt like such a failure deciding that I was not going to renew that business license. And so the thing is, like, seeing that such successful people start from failed businesses, like, that is really inspiring. And like, I know now that like that business taught me so much about what I was prepared for, what I was capable of learning, and also the things that I have some buffer room that I need to figure out, and a lot of that does come from the specific business side of things. Like, I was feeling really confident in a lot of different avenues of that business, but as far as, I guess, making that profit, that was something that I recognized that I really needed to learn a lot more from. And so I'm applying some of that to this podcast, to my brand as a whole. I really want to see Izzy's World take off because I think that it's, I don't know, kind of fun, and I see a lot of potential there. um, So, another lesson that I have learned is that you are pursuing something you love when you choose to tackle the obstacles rather than letting them stop you. I think it's really important first to address the fact that sometimes obstacles are put in your way for a reason. Whatever it is that you believe in, I believe in the universe, and I believe that sometimes, when there are obstacles so heavy in your way, maybe they were put there for a reason. Maybe there's a reason why, you are having such a hard time doing something. And sometimes that those obstacles are put in your place to test you. And really, it is kind of a fine balance trying to figure out, okay, is this something that is meant to be a challenge, or is this something that is meant to be like where I call it quits? And, ultimately, I think in those obstacles, that is when you learn what is it that you love? What is it that you're actually trying to chase here? So maybe, for an example, you start to find what you love through these obstacles. And so let's say, you have a goal of getting over here when you start down here and you start hitting obstacles on your way to get there. Well, maybe those obstacles are actually going to redirect you over to this goal, which actually matters more to you than the original one on the other side. So that's kind of just some food for thought, identifying the things that you love, chasing the things that you love, and conquering them, even if it is challenging, and overcoming those obstacles. It is so important to know that, like, just because it's a challenge doesn't mean it's not worth doing. And also just to find kind of the balance that goes in between the two, because, you want to chase things that matter to you, that you feel passion for, and the things that are also going to provide back for you. So, that's another lesson that I had learned. On some of that too, I think that there is an infinite amount of learning that you can do. And especially in this day and age when we have the opportunity for so much knowledge, there is literally no excuse to be stupid at this point. Like, some people just do not have 2 cents, and some people, need a little bit of extra help getting to certain spots, but like, obtaining knowledge is not something that is a challenge at this point. You can Google anything. You can look at peer-reviewed articles anywhere. Like, there is a lot of false knowledge out there, but also there is so much actual knowledge that you are able to, cross-examine things and really form your own opinions that are educated. And having uneducated opinions is rather challenging. But that's kind of what I want to touch on, actually, is that your degree does not prove that you are educated. The work doesn't end at the diploma. In fact, that's where it begins. Because, for me personally, I double majored in communications and psychology. Great and all. Psychology can't really do a whole lot with a bachelor's, but whatever, it's fine. So, like, I just thought that I was so knowledgeable, that I knew everything about it. And that's like why I went straight into opening a life coaching business. Well, you see, the thing is, like, you get these textbooks, you are assigned to learn these certain things, but like at a certain point, your diploma just tells people that you knew how to study that material. It doesn't tell them necessarily that you learned it, that you were knowledgeable in it. And, a lot of people obviously do get very educated. I mean, you get a degree, and so obviously you learn something. But as far as continuing to, improve yourself, that is so, so important, because if you just stop at the knowledge that you had during your time in your education, then you are not using your experience to your advantage, and you are not allowing yourself to be open to understanding new experience. So, post graduation, you need to continue learning. If someone introduces, for example, a new form of communication, don't just tell them, oh, well, this is what I learned about and this is what works the best. Maybe this works great too. All ideas are worth exploring to some degree. And so that's another thing to consider. Also, maybe what you got your degree in isn't the only thing that is going to be a functioning component of your position, whether that is self employment or working for someone else or, something on the in between. You need to be able to continue to learn, continue to grow, just literally soak in all of the knowledge that you can, because you never know how some of that knowledge is going to help you, but you know that it will. Like, literally, knowing more is always a good problem to have. And I don't know. Another example too is like a couple weeks ago, and like literally all of these lessons are things that I am still like, you know, trying to put into my brain. No one is able to like fully understand, fully practice everything perfectly every single time. And so there's going to be days when you're like, yeah, I know all this stuff and I'm doing great with it. And there's also going to be days when you have regressed a little bit and you need to relearn certain things, which is okay, because we're human. We're fleshy, skinny, gross things. And like, you need to like be okay with realizing, oh crap, I forgot a lot of this stuff, and like you need to remember it. But an example was a couple weeks ago, I was at my yoga class, and like I caught myself saying this and I felt so dumb in the moment, but she was asking me about something or other, and I was just like, yeah, like I've been in 9 of these classes, and like I did it back in college. And I was like, that was like the most closed off response that I could have ever had. Like, I could have asked for advice, I could have asked, about this or that, or like given other feedback, but instead I was just like, I've done that, like been there, done that. And that's not the way to go about things. Like, literally just be so receptive to learning and making it matter, and it'll help. So moving on to, the next thing that I want to talk about is actually ask for help and actually listen. And I think that that ties in really, really well, with the last point there. Like, if you are not fully sure about something, or if you know that there is a gap in your knowledge, or, room for you to continue to grow, ask and listen. And like, also too, if someone is struggling, then, you know, be receptive to what they're saying too. Like, listen to what people are telling you, and you will start to hear what they actually mean. And like, that is so, so simple. Listen to people and hear, like, and you'll hear what they actually mean. But like, the thing is too, is sometimes you're also going to listen to people and recognize that what they need is something you can't give them, and that is a place where you might need to let them go. But, when you are asking for help, receive the knowledge that they're giving you. Don't have someone spend their time talking to you about, something that you wanted help with in the first place, just for them to feel like they're wasting their time providing that to you. For example, maybe you're in a class and your professor, gives you an extra credit assignment because you like did poorly on a test. You asked for that extra credit. They spent the time giving you that opportunity. And like, if you just decide, oh, well, I did fine enough, like, I'll just take, the 2.8 for the class or whatever, like, that's just not a good move. So, anytime that you ask for help, actually listen when you are given a response, when you're given an answer, when you're given the help that you asked for in the first place. Just listen. Also too though, like, listen to the good advice and be conscious that not all advice is good advice. And so, take that for what you want for the whole episode. The next point that I want to move into here is that we are genuinely in this together, which means no one is truly your competition. And kind of the reason why I wanted to touch on this is because I saw this episode from Gary Vee the other day, or not episode, but this video, and he was talking about how, there is an infinite amount of content available on the internet at this point. Like, there is so much internet out there that we're just, all dishing it out, and we're all not competing, but like, we're all, trying to support different things, but at the same time, like, that means that we are all kind of on the same level, trying to do the same thing, in the same boat with the same old paddle, like B.O.B. and Taylor Swift said. But, yeah, just, we're not competing with each other. We are actually all working together. And, the idea that pinning two brands against each other, I understand the competition in that, but at the same time, if you think about it, the more that, like, Nike talks about Puma or whatever, the more that each of them are getting the recognition. And so we're really working together here. And so don't try to make it like a competition, I am not going to post anything that's like tearing down another content creator. I might poke a little fun here and there, but like, it's not going to be something where it's like I'm trying to compete with anyone. Like, we're just all here creating a community, and that goes for life too. Regardless of what you think is your competition, that competition might actually be your best support. This could also be, in a relationship, with an acquaintance, maybe, the other bad bitch at the office, maybe the two of you are not competing to be like the baddest fucking bitch. Maybe the two of you need to come together to invoke change within everyone else. Like, there is no point in making competitions. There's no point in like trying to tear other people down. Literally, the only person it tears down is you, because it makes you look really bad and negative and angry. And so just lift other people up, in the times when you need to like talk shit, because sometimes we just all need that. Have the people that you can go to in confidence. But I don't know, there's not a lot of spots that belongs in otherwise. Like, literally, your circle of people that you trust, undoubtedly, those are maybe the people that you can talk to about that. And like, also, one thing that I will add that is not in here, if you are talking shit about the people that are in that circle, those people should not be in your circle. And that's a hard pill to swallow. But that does go back to number one, your loyalty is not noble. So, moving forward, I think that's a really great thought to think about. But, with all of this, there's so much learning, there's so much growing, and healing happens every time you grow. There is no end to healing, and there's no end to growing. And so, a while ago, I was at a bridal shower, and one of my favorite humans was there. She's my soul sister. And I was telling her that, like, I thought that I was in such a better spot, but like, I am just still trying to figure things out, like, still feeling like I'm wading through life. And she reminded me that healing is not a linear path. It's not like you were broken and now you're fixed. It is going to be constantly reminding yourself to be strong, reminding yourself that you still have room to grow, and reminding yourself that, like, there are more things to, understand. Just because you think, okay, well, like, now that I'm 24, well, I'm 23, but whatever, now that I'm 22, like, I'm fully healed from anything that happened when I was under 21. No. No, no, no. You might think that you, like, have shit under wraps, but, like, there might be something that resurfaces, or there might be something that happens, in the future that triggers something that happened back then. There are going to be times when you feel so unhealed, but know that it is a large healing process and that you are doing better for feeling all of those emotions. Going through all those different waves, healing and growing and stretching and reforming, remolding, it's all part of the process. It's all part of life. You're never going to be optimally healed, and definitely not in, like, your first 50 years of life. Like, I just genuinely don't see that being possible. I think that a lot of us are able to find a lot of really great grounding. I think that we are also able to find great direction. And, like I said, there are so many opportunities and infinite resources out there that, like, we have the ability to learn all these things, but also getting that experience and that practice and acting on those things, those are all going to be a difference in what we find as, being healed and being whole and being 100% at peace. Enjoy the journey, because that is really, the most important part. There are going to be days when you feel raw as shit, but there's also going to be days when you feel alive and glowing. And so live for both of them. So another thing that I really wanted to touch on too was that you do not owe them anything. And on the flip side of that, they don't owe you either. Maybe, you had someone that, is expecting that you're going to message them back right away. Or maybe that expects to be, part of your bridal party, or expects to, have this type of relationship with, whoever that's involved in your life. You don't owe them that. Just because they have devoted their loyalty to you does not mean that you have to give them that. Obviously, giving time and receiving time, that's very important. But also, like, if this is something where you're just like, I really appreciate the help, but, like, I didn't ask for this and I don't owe you that in return. If you provided this to me, there is not supposed to be strings attached. I did not get selected to be part of my friend's bridal party, which, I had a lot of hard feelings at first, because I was just kind of like, man, like, I was there when you guys met. It was on my birthday. But, like, I ultimately realized, like, they don't owe me anything. Like, I I just got to be part of that story, and I got to be part of that moment, and, like, that is the biggest takeaway. I think this one's really important to talk about when you're looking at your relationship with your parents. Just because they took the time to raise you for however long you were in their household and however long you were dependent on them, that doesn't mean that they deserve everything in the world in return. You know, they chose to put that time and energy into you, and um if it is not something that's a good fit, like you do not need to continue that. Like you do not owe them your time just because they gave you that. Just because you gave or they gave you life doesn't mean that you have to give your life in return. You know, it has to be a relationship where both sides are benefiting. And if you're just really not receiving that, then like you don't owe that to them. And also, another thing too is like you can't expect people to, you know, just dish out what you ask of them every time. And that's like why they don't owe you either. You know, for example, like my sister, I asked her if she wanted to be a bridesmaid, and she was not, you know, wanting to be in that position, which like she didn't owe me that. You know, no one owes you anything, and you owe no one nothing. Like you are allowed to be just free in the world, and so is everyone else. And like, you know, maybe there's going to be times when it's like, oh, you like mowed my yard. I'll make sure to weed whack yours next week. Like things like that are just silly. And like, obviously, you know, that's just like a neighborly kind of IOU sort of thing. But like, as far as devotion of time and effort and loyalty and compatibility, you do not owe that to anybody else. And like literally you just only owe that to yourself. And think about this too, if you are only able to give enough energy to support, you know, one thing, allow that one thing to be you. And know that as soon as you are able to give that to yourself, you're going to be able to give that to other people. You know, it only takes one candle to light a million. You know, I don't see, you know, why focusing on your own flame first has to be such a, you know, treacherous task, but sometimes it is, and it's okay if that's the case. So, on that too, stop expecting you from other people. And also, on that note, stop allowing the bare minimum. So just because, you know, you are up here, you're able to give all this effort, maybe other people just aren't. You know, maybe they have something else going on, or maybe they're just one of those people that like don't function at this level. Maybe they function at this level and they're good at this level. If you're trying to get them up to this level, you will be disappointed on the difference there. And that's okay that, you know, that they're not able to reach that level of you. But also that might give you an indication that like, okay, you know, am I being also overwhelming? I have torn opinions on this. Um, I believe two sides, and I believe them fairly equally. One side of it is if I'm too much, go find less, which I think is a valid thought. But also, I think at a certain point when you recognize that you are too much for pretty much every interaction that you have, maybe it is time to understand the common denominator. And that might just be you. And that might not be a true you. It might be a you that is trying to compensate. It might be a you that is trying to deal with traumas. It might be you that is trying to handle this, this, and that. But like understanding that there is a balance and that you are exceptional, and that is great. And you should start surrounding yourself with people who are exceptional, but also like don't expect you from every single person that you meet. You know, there's going to be people who are dissociated and not interested at all in what you're interested in, and it's okay that they're not interested in it. And like, we have so many different hobbies and interests as humans, and so like, if certain things don't line up, then that's okay. For personal example, like I will work, 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 work. Like I will continue to bust ass. But the thing is, like, other people are not capable of maintaining that. And quite frankly, I'm probably not as good at maintaining it as I think I am anyways. So, like, for example, if I get, 60 boxes packed and someone else only gets 40 boxes packed, well, they're still putting in their amount of effort. Just because it didn't reach my quota, then, like, that is only a reflection of me, not them. Like, they are still putting in that work. And so, so I think that's really important to understand, like, as humans, as people, like, we are all able to achieve greatness. Our greatnesses are all just a little bit different, and it is all about, the things that you are pursuing, your passion level for it, and like the amount of drive and will that you actually want to put towards that. Because just because it is, quantified that you did really great here does not mean that you're doing really great here. And so if someone is not doing super great here, maybe they're doing great here. Like there are so many different ways to spend our time and our energy, and understanding that is really, really important. So we kind of already talked about this one a little bit, but if you don't get it right away, know that there is an infinite amount of knowledge out there, and you are able to obtain that knowledge and use it. So this kind of goes back into the idea that, like, if you fail, use that failure as a learning method, use it as a tool, and take the material from it and really be able to understand what didn't work and put it into something that you want to work, and you're going to be able to find success in that. We also kind of already talked about how, like, there is so much knowledge out there that there's really no reason, like, not to do that other than being able to put in that time and energy and will and drive. And so, like I said, just because you fail in the beginning does not mean that that is actually a failure. So allow yourself to learn from that too. So one of the professional lessons that I've learned is just to be easy to work with, be a pleasure to work with. Like, genuinely be a pleasure, be inviting when you meet them. Come in with a smile, be nice, be happy, and act like you are just excited to be there. If you go in and you have a great attitude, then that is going to set the tone for the rest of the interaction. And sometimes that person is not super receptive to it, and that happens. But the other thing that, like, you have to understand too is, like, you cannot talk poorly about someone when you leave. And if you do, it's got to be something that's necessary, because if it's just useless chatter about negativity, then again, that is only going to come back to look bad on you. And I'm not saying that anybody is perfect at this. In fact, a event that I recently worked, I wasn't super fond of the manager, and I did make a comment to one of my friends about it that is in that inner circle of people. Very understanding, very those inner circle people are really, really helpful to have. But, like, I had said something negative about it, and then I was like, you know what? I don't need to share that with anybody else. Like, just because they weren't super, receptive to the energy that I brought does not mean that they are a poor human. In fact, it only looks, rough on me for thinking anything other than exactly what happened, which was, I was being very bubbly, very happy to be there, and they were, 6 hours into an 8-hour shift. Like, I can't blame them for not, bringing that type of energy too. And so, on kind of that flip note of, like, don't talk bad about people unless it's necessary. Yeah, there are going to be times in life where you are going to need to speak up because someone is being not good. And, unfortunately, like, it happens more frequently than you would like to see happen. And, like, I think one thing that, like, you have to understand, like, get this through your brain, okay? If you're going to take anything away from this episode, take this away and get it through your brain. the more that you do something, the more comfortable you will be doing it. So maybe you have to, make a report about something that happened while you were working and you feel super uncomfortable and super uneasy doing it. But that just means that the next time that something comes up, you're going to feel so much more comfortable, addressing that issue. And eventually you're going to understand how to address it without even bringing in additional interaction or intervention. And, bringing in that additional intervention, maybe having that third person on the in between that's able to break up that conversation. Sometimes that's absolutely necessary. And sometimes, you are ready to address that problem but don't quite know how to yet. And so that's why, that third person is a good person to have there. Unfortunately, we are in a day and age where things are becoming a little bit better on that, but we're all still working together. But either way, the more times you do something, the more comfortable you will be doing it in the future. And so apply that to everything that you do. Know that you can only get better from here. And growth is wavy. It is not a linear situation, but you will get more comfortable. As a whole, you will be more comfortable and things will get better. And just be happy on the just be happy on the in between. In the meantime, just bring your best attitude and be easy to work with. Also, too, the more that you are an easy to work with, happy person, the more that someone's going to think, that person left a really good impression, and I would really like to see them back. Or at least you'll be very memorable, and they will think, you know what? That person, out of all these people that I see here, that person is who I want to represent my brand, or who I want to interact with the customers, or who I want to, work on this project or lead this project. You never know what the opportunities might come from just coming in with a great attitude and, being easy to work with. So my very last piece of advice, lessons that I've learned, is to wear the cool fucking pants. And so here's the thing. You can be in your shell, uncomfortable, and just doing your thing, or you can do something a little bit out of your comfort zone, look fucking cool doing it, and just really exploring your own personality. And so for me, I felt super, super uncomfortable wearing fun clothing for quite a while there. I remember back in middle school, my mom and my grandma would just be like, why are you always buying black skulls and gray stuff? And I think a lot of it came from just kind of where I was in my life. It's not a phase, Mom. But also not really willing to take the risk with my outward look. Obviously now, I got some wild hair. I think someone asked me recently, what color is your hair? And I was like, this side's kind of pink and this side's kind of blue. I don't know. But wear the cool fucking pants. Just get yourself out there, do something that makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable. Just present yourself in a new way, and it might open you up to something really cool. I bought a couple pairs of leggings a few years ago that I thought were just a funky, cool design. I bought, these banana pants that I love with my entire heart, and wearing those cool pants opened me up to allowing myself to try different styles, to try different things that I otherwise was too scared to do. And so literally wear the cool pants, figuratively wear the cool pants, wear the cool pants, wear the cool pants, wear the cool pants. Whether it's actually pants or just, like I said, putting your personality out there and really showcasing it for other people, giving yourself a little bit of something different to look at. you're going to start to, you know, just feel better on the inside. And maybe you feel uncomfortable going out there or uneasy going out there and not looking, completely um, within your own box. But, like, I don't know. If you never open the box, you're not going to know what's in there. So, open the box. On that note, I think I am going to go ahead and sign off. But yeah, those are 16 plus little pieces of advice, lessons learned that I really think are really important to understand and just kind of have in the back of your brain when you're going through life. You know, again, running through these really quickly, my loyalty isn't noble. Be good to your friends. Jump at opportunities. Ask for higher pay. Not everyone is meant to be in your life forever. Failing is never failing if you learn from it. You know you are pursuing something you love when you choose to tackle the obstacles rather than letting them stop you. Your degree does not prove you are educated. In fact, that is where it will begin. Ask for help and actually listen. We are genuinely in this together. No one is actually your competition. You don't owe them anything and they don't owe you. Stop expecting you from other people and don't settle for the bare minimum. Be easy to work with and don't talk poorly about a client. Know if you don't get it right the first time, you can always learn. And wear the cool fucking pants. So guys, thank you so much for joining me tonight. This is Izzy's World. I am going to add a couple more episodes here very, very soon. If you enjoyed this lesson, if you enjoyed, learning a little bit from this, if you just enjoyed me, like, go ahead and give me a follow, a like, a comment, all the things, share it, like, literally just interact with it, and I would feel so appreciative. I really would like to see, who's watching and the types of people that are, getting something from this. And so with that, leave me a comment below if you enjoyed this episode, and I don't know, I just hope that we can build such a cool community of awesome people who are just genuinely interested in being genuine and want to promote being good, being kind. And anyways, thank you very much for joining me. Again, this is Izzy's World. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening.